It turns day into night, air into fire. Nothing in the world can compare to its power. The most awesome sight you will ever see may be your last. In the town of Dante's Peak, a volcano is turning nature into a nightmare. Come on! Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton.
Oh my
God. Dante's Peak. The pressure is building.
Now, Dante's Peak is not a good movie, but then again, neither is Volcano. I mean, most of these disaster movies that were coming out around this time were not really all that great. There's been a couple of exceptions where they've been good movies, like I talked about Daylight a couple weeks ago, and this movie, it's not very good, and you can kind of see what it is when you actually watch the movie. Right off the bat, you really do not like any of these people in this movie. I mean, the people in this movie sound too cliched from every single one of these movies like this. I mean, this town is so up its own ass at the beginning of the film. It's just like, it's the perfect place to live in, where nothing will ever go wrong. There's literally points where they literally say stuff like, nothing can ever go wrong in this town, and then, sure enough, whenever they actually have something that goes completely wrong, everyone's all surprised, like, I can't believe everything's gone wrong. It's just like, you think you would have, there's the reason why they brought in these people from the United States Geological Service to come in and tell you that, hey, maybe you should start thinking about putting an evacuation plan together to get everybody out of here. And it's just like, no, you're talking out of your ass. Nothing's ever going to go wrong here. And then, yeah, it's that kind of, it's the dialogue in this movie is terrible. You do not like any of these characters whatsoever, and you just kind of expect that when this volcano eventually will erupt, it will take out every single thing in this entire town, because really they deserve it, honestly. Like, I never had a connection with any of these characters. It's not the adult characters, not the kid characters. Like, no, everybody in this town was so up their own ass in this movie that when this volcano finally erupted and the things, all hell broke loose, I was just like, finally, please, just eradicate every single one of these people for good. It's just like, so yeah, I'm not a big fan of this movie, but I will say, compared to Volcano, when the volcano does erupt, looks pretty cool. Like, it still looks pretty cool after all these years, and it's mostly because you could tell that they used a lot of practical effects in here. Again, this is back when CG wasn't usually the norm, where you can just use it on every single movie you put it in. But yeah, once the volcano erupts and you see all these practical effects coming together, like, it just looks so cool, and it still looks cool after all these years later. Like, when this volcano just blows up, it just takes out this entire town. You feel the authenticity. Like, this does not look like something that's completely CG. It looks completely fake. No, this looks like it could actually happen with the practical effects. As you could tell, it's a miniature town, but you know what? It's there. You could feel it, and really, as bad as this movie is, I can at least say that when the town gets affected by this volcano, it feels like it's actually happening. Like, I got to give this movie a lot of props for that. The movie itself may not be all that great, but that's just amazing what they were able, the effects in this movie still hold up after all these years. I mean, it's just still amazing to watch after all these years, and I got to give the movie its proper credits for that. They did a great job on that. If they only had better characters and a better story and didn't just fall into typical disaster movie tropes, like, this movie could have been really incredible. But like I said, as far as the visual effects go, they are still pretty good. They still hold up after all these years. So I'd say if you want to see this movie, I'd say watch these clips online. You don't really need to see the whole movie itself, because honestly, the whole movie itself is not that great. But when the town erupts, that's when the fun factor comes into this. And unlike Volcano, which came out a couple months later, the effect is this movie makes those scenes worth it. And Volcano, it just didn't work. And we'll eventually talk about that when we get to Volcano in a couple months. So yeah, Dante's Peak is not a great film, but man, when the volcano erupts, that's when the fun factor comes into play. It's watch those clips online. You don't really need to see the whole movie to really appreciate it for the visuals alone. So with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Fran Drescher from The Nanny with Timothy Dalton in The Beautician and the Beast.
Once upon a time, a beautiful maiden left her home to seek her fortune in a foreign land. Well, where is she? Where is the teacher?
Oh, Mr. President, please don't judge me by this. It's just that it's so dark in this castle. Great for atmosphere, but it's hell for putting on liquid liner.
Quiet.
I heard.
This teacher is a loose cannon.
Could I possibly get a blanket without a head?
My children are growing up in a different world than me. You must help them face a new century.
If you've earned 18,000 frequent flyer miles, but it takes 20,000 miles to go from Miami to Scottsdale.
I thought you taught science.
Teach it? I didn't even pass it.
You look lovely, Masha.
Yeah, it's control-top pantyhose. Holds you in like a stuffed sausage.
You teach beauty school.
Yeah, well, talk to the hand.
Here, I talk last.
Yes, who could get a word in edgewise?
You do it again!
This woman would destroy the country.
A little bit of radish, and look what you got. Lucille Ball. Ooh. This is the only job you can get yourself?
Do I not intimidate you at all?
Is one of your sideburns shorter than the other? You don't have to be a tyrant to have people follow you. If you just trust me, you know, Sonny Bono shaved off his mustache, and now he's a congressman.
What is he doing?
He's saying hello. Hello. Paramount Pictures proudly presents.
You better be careful. A girl could get used to this.
It's like she has put a spell on you.
Fran Drescher.
You remember what I told you?
Boys who like me for what I am.
A princess with a great big dowry.
Timothy Dalton. A talk to the hand. Isn't that cute? I love that. The Beautician and the Beast.
I always wanted to do that.
I mean, it's basically The Nanny meets Beauty and the Beast meets a little bit of Moon over Parador. Let me try to explain this movie. This is a film that you can definitely tell this is basically kind of the Nanny movie, because Fran Drescher is literally playing a character that is very similar to her character on The Nanny, except instead of being a nanny, she's being brought in to teach teach the children of this dictator, played by Timothy Dalton, and it sounds pretty stupid. It looks pretty stupid. I was expecting it to not be a great film whatsoever, but I will say though, when I watched this movie, I did not hate it. Far from it. I actually did kind of enjoy it. Like, I thought it's a predictable romantic comedy. You can kind of tell what's going to happen. It's like a parody of, you know, besides Beauty and the Beast, you also have parody of The King and I, Evita, and The Sound of Music. That's all in this movie. I mean, it starts off with it's literally like The Nanny. It starts off with an animated opening that feels kind of pointless, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of amusing. But the film itself is kind of amusing. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's an amusing film, and I think it's mostly because I actually like Fran Drescher's style of comedy. I like The Nanny. I watched that with my mother and my sister when I was little, and I mean, Fran Drescher can be very funny, and I think she really can be funny, and is on that show. Here, I mean, she's basically playing that same character from the TV show, but she's giving it her all. She's up against Timothy Dalton, and they both work off each other very well here. I think there are moments in there that are very silly. There are moments in here that are very ridiculous. The premise is kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, but I mean, I didn't hate it. Like, I was really expecting this not to be any good whatsoever, but like I said, I thought it was kind of amusing. I thought it was kind of enjoyable. More moments in this movie made me laugh than I could have imagined, but I'm not going to say it's a great movie per se. And I will say that if you are going to see this, I think if you are a fan of The Nanny and Fran Drescher's style of comedy, her style of acting, I think you'll definitely get a kick out of this more. But other than that, though, if you're not a big fan of her style of acting as a whole, I'd say definitely skip it. But if you could stand her on The Nanny and see that she can be really funny on there, this definitely works out very well here. It's not a classic by any means, but watching it a couple months ago on Paramount Plus and thinking that it was going to be something much worse, I didn't get that. I actually found myself quite enjoying it more than I probably would have. Would I ever watch it again? Not immediately, but I could definitely see they were at least trying to do something unique and different here. But it doesn't work as a whole, no. But as it is, it's not the worst romantic comedy I've ever seen. There is at least effort being put into it, and there are moments in here that did kind of make me laugh. So a fine watch for a one-time watch, but probably one I'm never ever going to watch again, honestly. And certainly it is a lot better than the next comedy we're going to take a look at, and that is John Leguizamo in The Pest.
Yo, what's up, freak?
He's the Sultan of Scam.
Why I don't understand any of your Chinese?
They call him the Pest.
Stop repeating what I said. I mean it. One more.
He's after some fast cash.
Where's my money?
I'll have the money for you. What's the day after today? Tomorrow? Tomorrow.
And the only way he's going to get it
Join me for a little gentlemanly hunt.
Oh, goody. What are we gonna hunt?
is to let them hunt him.
If you survive for 24 hours, you get $50,000.
$50,000?
Now, he's got to escape the German hitmen,
Could I do that again? I was looking to the wrong thingy.
outsmart the Scottish mob,
I didn't know there was a Scottish mob.
Captain, I cannot do it. The little crystals are breaking up. She's gonna blow.
and blow away the competition.
23,000 on my field of war. Take one down.
Yes, I get the point.
I think you got the whole idea of what this movie is. It's just John Leguizamo being extremely annoying for an hour and a half. An hour and a half. And this comes to us from the Bubble Factory, the same company that brought us Flipper. And looking at their movies that they've made, they have made some pretty bad movies. I mean, you have stuff like That Old Feeling, McHale's Navy, A Simple Wish, For Richer or Poorer, Slapping in the Stinkers. I mean, that's just from the first 3 years of this company alone. This is from the former head of Universal Studios, Sid Sheinberg, and his wife, Lorraine Gary, from the Jaws movies, and who actually came up with the name of the company for it. But when you see the movies that they put together, not a single one of them is memorable. Not a single one of these movies has any longevity to them. They're mostly forgettable movies, and this film is just an insult to John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo can be very funny if you don't give him a role like this, where all he does is just scream and try to be as loud and obnoxious as you can. I mean, he's playing a character that's literally named Pestero Vargas. I mean, come on, man. Like, yeah, this is a very bad movie. And I've seen John Leguizamo be great in movies. More recently, he's been in some very good films. Violent Night, he was very good in that film. In Kanto, he was very good. But this is just a mess on so many levels. It's loud, it's in your face, it never knows when to shut up. There's nothing going on that's funny about it. It's a mess of a film, and it's a fun idea, too. A comedic version of The Most Dangerous Game, which has been adapted into several other movies and movies and TV shows. It's been made for very fun movies and TV shows, honestly, but certainly not in this case. This is a film that's just all over the place. It's in your face, and it's just not very funny whatsoever. It's a movie that wastes the talents of John Leguizamo that we have seen clearly that he has, but not in this movie. This is a mess of a film on so many levels. So, yeah, avoid it like the plague. So, let's try to get the mood back up again. Let's go to a much better movie, or we at least hope it's a much better movie. It is directed by Richard Linklater, and that is Suburbia.
Out to L.A. Oh, that's nice. They have many convenience stores there for you to stand in front of.
Coming soon to an entertainment megaplex near you.
Yeah!
Comes an ambitious,
You still living at your mom's?
mind-numbing thrill ride of a movie.
Great concert tonight.
You were there?
No.
From the director of Dazed and Confused, Suburbia. Starts Friday, February 28th at a theater near you.
So this is based off of a play by Eric Bogosian, best known for his work in talk radio. We already looked at that movie way back in the early days of the show. And you basically follow the relationship between a few young adults as they spend time standing on the corner outside of a local convenience store. So, in a way, it's kind of a mix between Linklater's own Dazed and Confused while also adding in a little bit of Kevin Smith's Clerks. I mean, and it's got a decent cast to it. Nicky Katt, Parker Posey, Giovanni Ribisi, Steve Zahn. But as far as the movie itself goes, it's definitely a step down compared to some of Richard Linklater's other works. I mean, he had just done Slacker, Dazed and Confused, Before Sunrise. This was the first real disappointment from him. It's not a bad movie per se, but you have two very different styles here. The style of director Richard Linklater and the writing of Eric Bogosian, which if you've seen talk radio, you know the style that he has for this. And these two styles just really don't mix together very well here. And I think that's a real shame to the film because there is actually some promise to it. There are some moments in there where you can actually see a lot of enjoyment coming out of it. But other than that, though, it's a very lackluster film, especially for a director like Richard Linklater. You expect a lot more from him, but as far as this movie goes, it's largely forgettable. It's one of Linklater's lesser films. Not one of his worst films, honestly, but you expect a lot more from him. So that's Suburbia. Let's go ahead and take a look at our last film, and that is Hotel de Love.
Are you mystified by love? I love you. Wondering who's the one?
Steven!
Melissa!
Rick! Steven! Stop!
Discover true romance
I love you.
at the Hotel de Love, a film for the passionately confused.
I just got married.
My life is over.
Rated R, now playing.
So the premise of Hotel de Love is fraternal twin brothers meet a childhood crush at a rundown hotel. They rediscover their love as they renew their competition for her affection. The woman in here is played by Saffron Burrows, who you've seen in a number of movies, including The Bank Job, Reign Over Me, Troy, Deep Blue Sea. She's been on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mozart in the Jungle. She's been in a lot of stuff, but the other guys are played. The two brothers are played by Aidan Young and Simon Bissell. This is written and directed by Craig Rosenberg, and I don't know anything else about this movie. Honestly, I've never even heard of it, but I mean, it looks like a fun little romantic comedy. It's nothing that I really need to rush out and see, at least from my first glance at it, but it definitely could be something interesting, could be promising, but like I said, nothing that really makes me want to rush out and see it, honestly. That's pretty much all I got for you on that one, Hotel de Love.
So who is it?
That is Luther Whitman. He's one of the great thieves of the world. A thief who witnessed a murder. He saw nothing. He's a burglar. Who's gonna believe him?
Well, he could be a little more than that. He's got literal blood fingerprints. Think what he can do.
This person goes in the front door, out a window, and down a rope in the middle of the night.
I don't know how those guys do it.
He won't recognize him. He could be right around the corner. He doesn't want you to find him. You're not going to find him.
Want to get with the program? You're gonna catch this guy.
Not dealing with a fool here, are we?
Father, what have you done?
You don't know the heat on this. He's on the run and he's scared, and he's right to be scared because he's gonna get caught.
Then what?
Then I'd kill him. Entertainment presents Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Ed Harris, Laura Linney, Judy Davis, Scott Glenn, Dennis Haysbert, and E.G. Marshall.
So based off of a novel of the same name, this is basically a story about how Clint Eastwood plays this master thief, and he gets caught up in this conspiracy against the president in the movie, played by Gene Hackman. He believes that the president believes everything he does is beyond reproach, including an affair or two, which leads to said murder. and there's only one witness, and that is the thief played by Eastwood. They are sure he'll talk, but when Secret Service's turn to keep him quiet, but catching a thief isn't all easy, blah, 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 blah. You've heard the story before over and over again, and yet this movie somehow really makes it very boring. This is one of the most boring thrillers I've ever seen. I mean, you've got so many good talents in this movie. Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Ed Harris, Laura Linney, Scott Glenn, Judy Davis, Dennis Haysbert, Richard Jenkins. I mean, that cast alone is incredible. You got to write it. You've got it written by William Goldman. William Goldman is a very solid writer who wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He wrote one of the best political thrillers of all time with All the President's Men. And Clint Eastwood's a damn good director. How did they all get stuck with this really lackluster movie? I mean, this is probably one of Clint Eastwood's most boring, most bland movies ever. I mean, there's nothing about this story that's interesting whatsoever. There's nothing clever about this movie whatsoever. It is just a boring thriller. You do not care about anything that goes on in this movie. You don't care about the mystery. You don't care about any of these characters whatsoever because they're just stock characters. And it's just a mess. The story is all over the place. And it's the perfect definition of a thriller that just throws anything to the wall and hopes that it will stick when nothing is sticking whatsoever. It's that bad of a movie. I cannot believe how boring and how lazy this movie is when so much potential is there with everything that they have involved here. And it's just a terrible movie. It's a terrible, terrible film. It's not engaging whatsoever. It's not well done at all. It's a bland, boring movie. I could not believe how bad this movie was. I mean, I was really disappointed by this movie, considering that all the talent that's on board here. It's a horrible film. It's a horrible, horrible movie. I mean, wow, what a mess. So that's Absolute Power. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is on a much lighter note, the fourth and then final installment of the Vacation series. Before, of course, we got the reboot, and that is, of course, Vegas Vacation.
Look out, America! The Griswolds are ready to get away.
To fantastic Las Vegas.
But there's some things they just can't get away from.
Can you believe it? They used to test H-bombs on this beautiful piece of property.
Don't you worry about radiation.
All I know, Clark, is that my teeth have never been whiter and my garden is spitting out 50-pound tomatoes. Hose down now, kids. Chicken's almost ready.
Let's let them get into some trouble.
Great. I'm starting my vacation!
Are you thinking of dancing, honey? She's got a body for it.
You're in Vegas. Love.
Together, they're visiting the wonders of the world.
Hoover Dam. I am your damn guy. Take all the damn pictures you want. Now, are there any damn questions?
Yeah, we're gonna get some damn bakes.
And enjoying world-class entertainment.
Holy cow. Wayne Newton's hitting on Mom.
This guy's with us. You take care of him.
Thank you.
The torch of the Griswold Vacation.
10 years of tap dancing lessons, and this is how you repay me?
Is being passed to a new generation.
Rusty.
I'm out of the pool. Let's go, young man.
Yeah.
Now.
Chevy Chase.
This is Steve.
Beverly D'Angelo.
Feeling lucky tonight, Sparky?
Not right now, honey. They're teaching me back right.
Randy Quaid.
Has anybody ever told you before you're bad luck?
Those were my mother's dying words.
Vegas Vacation. Get ready for a real trip.
And this is what happens when you take John Hughes out of the Vacation franchise, because he literally did not want to do any more. Didn't do this movie because he didn't have any more stories that could relate to the Griswolds, like he did with Vacation and European Vacation, and then Christmas Vacation. Actually, I don't know if he did European Vacation, but you get what I'm talking about here. This is a film that is just trying to keep the series going without the person behind it who made those original movies so memorable. And Yeah, it doesn't work. It's a movie that just really falls flat. Everything that happens in this movie just feels completely outside of what you'd expect from the vacation movies. There's attempts to try to recreate the magic of the first movie. I mean, you see it in the trailer with Christy Brinkley coming back in the movie, and Chevy Chase is giving this look on his face like, are we really doing this again? Like, Chevy Chase just seems so uncomfortable making this movie. I mean, Beverly D'Angelo's at least trying, so is Randy Quaid. He actually does have some of the best lines in the movie. I mean, he still brings a lot of the power into this movie. And then, of course, they ruined that with the sequel they did, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure, where he was not funny in that whatsoever. But even the kids in this movie are not that great. Ethan Embry is a very solid actor. Who we had just seen in That Thing You Do, which is a far superior movie. The daughter in this movie, Marissa Nichols, is kind of bland too. I mean, yeah, she's got a nice body that can play into what they put her into this movie in, but other than that, though, she's really lifeless. Like Dana Barron, Dana Hill, Juliette Lewis, they all played that character better than Marissa Nichols plays in this movie. And Juliette Lewis hardly had anything to do in Christmas Vacation. That just shows you how much more important it was to have them in there than having her in this movie. And there's no real sense of what made the original movie so special. There's not a whole lot of fun slapstick comedy. There's not a whole bunch of over-the-top comedy. It gets kind of ridiculous when Rusty wins all of these cars just on random. I mean, I get it. It's Las Vegas. Anything can happen. But if you go to Las Vegas and you win 4 straight cars in a row, like, I don't know. Like, that's just... Sometimes the unbelievable is way too believable here. And the situation definitely is that. Like, I don't care how good you are. If you win 4 cars in a row, go to the poker machines and start gambling chips, because you're gonna keep winning no matter what. I mean, like, I don't know if I made any sense with that, but you get kind of the idea. It gets really, really ridiculous in this movie, and it's just not fun. The fun factor in this movie just isn't there. Like, the fun factor was in all the other movies, and like, as much as I hated Vacation, the reboot they did 20 years later, I at least got to give them credit for at least trying to capture some of that magic again, even if it failed miserably at it. But there were still more laughs in that movie than I would have with this movie here. I'd rather watch the new Vacation again than watch this one, and I hate the new Vacation film, but I mean, it just doesn't have that same spark that the other movies did, and you can definitely tell you needed somebody like John Hughes there to show you how it's done, to show you how to make this work, and it just doesn't have it in this case. It's a really lackluster comedy, not a whole lot of laughs. Once in a while there'll be a good chuckle here or there from Cousin Eddie, but other than that, though, this is a largely big misfire of a film. So, that's Vegas Vacation. Let's go ahead and move on to the next comedy we have here, and that is Matthew Perry and Salma Hayek in Fools Rush In.
Alex Whitman.
Okay, Jeff, it's a long story.
Was good at being single.
I'm looking for Alex.
He just ducked out. And his life was right on track.
You are taking over in Vegas. No. Everything that's famous about Las Vegas is about leaving it. That movie, the song, even the mob left Las Vegas.
It's a long way from Manhattan to Las Vegas.
Hot.
But Alex was beginning to think it was worth the trip.
I'm Isabel. I never did anything like that before. Going home with someone I don't know.
It was just one of those spontaneous things. So, how you been?
Pregnant.
Really? We were only together one night. Isabel, what can I do?
Hey, Alex, there's a woman on line 1. She says she's your wife.
You're married? The one with the body? The nightmare begins. So, your father, is he a big man, or what is this?
Mama, Papa, this is Alex Whitman.
I welcome you in my home. Now, this is how you repay me? Stealing my only daughter! In-laws.
Now,
Alex, this is Chewie.
Chewie, hi. Luke Skywalker. How are you?
he's getting a little more than he bargained for.
I can't believe this is the same house. Jeez.
Alex is alone with your brothers?
And a lot more
Snakes
than he imagined.
Lucy, you got some explaining, you.
I better light another candle.
I'm telling you, everything's gonna be okay.
Columbia Pictures presents
Surprise! Mom, Dad. I got it, hon.
a story about the sparks that fly
Now that is what I call a housekeeper.
when two worlds collide
In case you haven't noticed, the white people are melting out here.
and two people come together.
Isabel Fuentes, I am in love with you.
Matthew Perry,
You are everything I never knew I always wanted.
Salma Hayek,
I think this is so romantic.
You do?
Absolutely.
Fools Rush In.
Second comedy of the weekend to take place in Las Vegas, but unlike Vegas Vacation, this one is surprisingly charming. Like, it's not a great film overall. It's pretty standard for a typical comedy of this. It's basically a romantic comedy we've seen done over and over again, where opposites have to attract. They end up coming together in the end, and it's an ancient formula, but it's a formula that does kind of work because you do buy into the couple's chemistry. I mean, Matthew Perry and Salma Hayek, they actually do work off each other very well. They're both very funny. They have some good material to work with here. And there are some decent funny jokes here. There are funny one-liners here. It's a film that is a kind of a charming film. Is it a classic film by any means? No, not really. I mean, I wouldn't even go as far as to say it's a great movie overall, but I was expecting a whole lot worse with this film. I think it works mostly, like I said, because of the chemistry between Perry and Hayek. It's definitely there. And you have scriptwriters who know that as long as the actors are working off each other well enough, the film will actually stay on its own. And it does for a good majority of it. It's a film that largely is mostly forgettable, but at the same time, I didn't hate it. I came into it expecting a lot worse, but I found myself kind of liking it so much. And I think it also helps that it's directed by this guy, Andy Tennant, who's actually made some pretty good movies over the course of his career. You know, stuff like Ever After, like Anna and the King, which is a surprisingly decent film, Sweet Home Alabama, Hitch, and then he kind of cratered afterward with Fool's Gold and The Bounty Hunter. But there were still a couple of good movies here and there. So, overall, not a bad film, but not a great film either. It's kind of in the middle. It's fine for what it is. It has a good enough chemistry between the two leads to make it stand up on its own. So give it a pass. It's a decent film. So on to the next movie, and that is Disney's remake of That Darn Cat.
No man could solve, so they called in a cat. This is going too far. Now he's leading the FBI.
Sorry, Matt. Just coughed up a hairball.
On the adventure of 9 lifetimes. Walt Disney Pictures presents Christina Ricci.
I think there's something wrong with the engine.
Dougie Dunn, and introducing DC as That Darn Cat, rated PG.
So let's talk about where Disney's live-action film department was around this time period. I mean, granted, the animated renaissance that started with The Little Mermaid 8 years ago, I should say, was starting its eventual decline, but the animation department was still at least putting out some decent fun films during this time period. The live action film department, on the other hand, was really starting to crater off, and this was probably the first movie that shows that, is that you should really go in proceeding with caution, because a lot of what you're going to see from this point on in terms of the live action films. Most of these films are either really lackluster or mostly forgettable or just plain bad. That Darn Cat is just plain bad. I mean, this is a movie that has the writing team that gave us Ed Wood, and it stars Christina Ricci, who has proven to be a solid actress in other movies, and a cast that also includes Dougie Doug from Cool Runnings, George Zazandra, Peter Boyle, Michael McKean, Tom Wilson, John Ratzenberger, Dean Jones is in here as well. And they create a remake that is so bland, so forgettable, so uninspired, so uninventive, so trying to be hip to the kids these days type of bad. I mean, it's a bad movie. This town that these people live in are so bland and boring. It's just like none of these characters in this movie are likable whatsoever. You don't care about any people in here, not even Christina Ricci, who is just half-assing it throughout the course of the movie. She does not care about anything that happens in this movie at all. That scene in the trailer is probably closest she ever gets to being incredibly hyped about something going on here. Every line reading in this is just kind of like, okay, let's get through this. Let's get through this day so I can go home and think about my decisions of saying yes to this. And Dougie Doug is only there to just provide slapstick, and you know, the guy can be a decent actor in other movies like Cool Runnings, but here he's just here to play the bumbling idiot who's allergic to cats. I mean, there's nothing fun about this movie whatsoever. It's a movie that is so boring, so lifeless. You don't care about anything that goes on in this movie. It's a huge, major misfire here. And I think a lot of people like myself didn't even know that this was actually a remake of a far superior movie from the 60s, which was, of course, the 1965 That Dark Cat, which I used to see on the Disney Channel a lot when this remake was coming out to tie into the release of that film. And, yeah, I don't think I even need to say that the remake is far less superior compared to the original film, even though the original film is still a corny film, but it works for the time period. It's something that works. You can watch it so many years later and still get some enjoyment out of it, but with this is just bad for the sake of being bad. It's dated right from the get-go. Everybody in this movie is so unlikable. This town is so boring. The mystery is boring. Is boring. You can figure out who it's going to be right from the beginning of the movie, and that is not a way you want to start off a mystery unless you have a good hook to it. And this movie does not. This is a movie that is just. You see why they dumped it in the middle in the dumping ground months. I mean, this is a film that you can clearly tell is a film that Disney saw it and realized. There's no way we can release this in a profitable time of the year and people will actually go see it. So just dump it in January, dump it in February, hope it makes some money, and it did not. It crashed and burned big time, and yeah, I got nothing else for you. This is a boring ass movie, man. This is a terrible film. So can we at least try to get something good on this time around? Most of the movies we've talked about have either been really disappointing, not that great, or just downright terrible. So let's see if the next movie can try to fix that. Ice Cube and Elizabeth Hurley in Dangerous Ground.
Living in exile is not an easy thing. You dream of coming home, but I never dreamt of this. Look, they was gonna kill me.
Where there's no justice.
You come up with the money or you bury your brother.
There can be no peace.
Where can I find my brother?
Ice Cube.
It's about family, about home, about blood.
Dangerous Ground. Rated R. Starts Wednesday, February 12th.
Not really, but at least it's somewhat more promising than some of the other movies we've looked at. I mean, Ice Cube expanding his range as an actor, going back to what we saw him in with Boys in the Hood, kind of. The movie itself, unfortunately, is kind of by the numbers. It's not really all that great. It doesn't have a whole lot of memorable characters in it, except for maybe Elizabeth Hurley. This is pre-Austin Powers. This was a couple months before Austin Powers really put her on the map, and you know, I'll give her credit, though. She is trying her best in this movie, and I thought she was okay in it. I think Ice Cube is okay in it as well as Ving Rhames. What did I say? Ring Vames, like the dyslexic stuff right there. But it's a film that I think has way too many things we've seen done over and over again. There's nothing really all that interesting about anything in terms of the story that we should get invested in. And there's just nothing there that really makes this a standout film. It's a movie that's largely forgettable just on the story level. It's stuff we've seen done over and over again. And it's just not a fun film. It's not a film that really is engaging all that much. But considering that this director has really not done a whole lot of good stuff that we've looked at so far, Serafina, Fatherhood, Cry the Beloved Country, he later go on to do Dracula 3000. Yeah, this guy, this probably should have been a warning sign that this was not going to be that great of a movie. So, not a whole lot more to say about that one. That's Dangerous Ground. So, with that said, let us go ahead and move on to the next film that I see on this list, and that is the movie Touch.
Mockery. What if it turns out that you're a saint?
What if I am?
God, what are you doing to me?
And with us is the young man everybody's talking about.
You couldn't get him a better suit?
What do? Do you close your eyes, pray, and say, "Come on, God, give it to me"?
Bridget Fonda, Christopher Walken, Skeet Ulrich, Tom Arnold, Gina Gershon, Lolita Davidovich, and Janine Garofalo. Touch.
Honestly, of all the new releases, this is probably the one that I would say is the most enjoyable of the bunch, but even then, it's still not a great film. It has a good idea to it. You follow this young guy played by Skeet Ulrich, who's able to cure people by the cure the sick by the laying of on of hands, when mysterious stigmata appears from time to time on the flesh. And this former evangelist, played by Christopher Walken, who's tired of selling mobile homes for a living, pursues his friend, played by Bridget Fonda, to befriend this ex-monk and encourage him to aim for the big time. And then matters get complicated when he and her fall in love. They get more complicated when this fundamentalist comes into play and takes exception to their relationship. The story, the overall running of the story itself is not that engaging. The idea is very interesting, and it has a pretty solid cast here. Besides Ulrich, Fonda, Walken, Arnold, Tom Arnold's actually really good in this movie, especially when you consider all the bad films he made in '96. But Gina Gershon's also in here, Conchita Ferreira, William Newman. Solid cast overall. A good idea, just bad execution. It's a film that's very formulaic. It's very run-of-the-mill. It doesn't really have a whole lot there to make it stand out on its own. I guess it's tolerable on its own levels, but really, there's so much more potential with this that could have been done here. But yeah, other than that, though, it's a largely forgettable mess. So, we've had a lot of mediocre movies here. Let's end the show on the right note. Let's talk about one of the great movies of all time, and that is, of course, the re-release of Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft in Mike Nichols' The Graduate.
May I ask you a question? What do you think of me?
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
I mean, really, there's not a whole lot more that can be said about The Graduate that hasn't already been said already. It's been considered one of the greatest movies of all time, one of the great comedies of all time, one of the great dramas of all time, too. It's a film that does a good job of blending those elements into there, and you have great performances all around. Dustin Hoffman, Anne Bancroft, Catherine Ross, who plays Elaine in the film, is very good here. Buck Henry co-wrote the script with Calder Willingham. Mike Nichols, of course, won an Academy Award for directing this film. The music by Simon and Garfunkel is so memorable. The scenes in this film are so memorable, too, and they still leave a lasting impact on you to this very day. Like, there are scenes and situations that these characters go through in this film that are just still relevant all these years later. That scene at the end of the movie where Benjamin goes to the wedding and he gets Elaine back, and they go to the bus. They're about to start their happy life together, and then they slowly start to their happy faces slowly start to fade into this look of what did we just do and where do we go from here, because they realize all of what they did leads to these uncomfortable situations that they have to figure it out for themselves, and the audience has to figure it out as well. Like, where do they go from here after everything that they've gone through? And I like movies like that. I like movies that challenge people that way. You see something like this, and your first thought is, what's going to happen next? Did these guys do the right thing? It's kind of like what happened recently with Across the Spider-Verse and the way they ended that movie. They're setting everything up here, and it's a to-be-continued storyline, and now you have to wait a year to figure out where's everything going to go, what's going to happen next. And you watch it, and and after you're done, you're still having these thoughts of what you think might happen. Like, what's going to happen at this point on? Like, how's everybody going to get out of this? And while that movie will eventually have a conclusion, The Graduate does not. Even though they've tried to have a sequel for several years now, and thankfully that's never happened. At least for now, it's never happened. But you know, Hollywood is Hollywood, and they'll find a way to make a sequel for it someday, or continuation of it, or even try to remake it. But they have to dumb it down for the audiences. But no, movies like this make you think. They make you think about some of the decisions that these characters made. They make you kind of think of whether or not you would make these same decisions too, or if you made these type of decisions before. And like I said, it's a very funny, very dramatic movie with these incredible shots that still hold up after all these years. I mean, this is one of the best movies ever made. I mean, this is a film that's definitely, you can see why it's in a number of people's best movie list of all time, and it's just such a masterpiece on so many levels. It's a film that is very funny, very touching, and it makes you think. It's got a great cast to tell the story. The soundtrack, like I said, by Simon Garfunkel, amazing. The score by Dave Grusin is incredible. It's an all-around winner, man. I mean, this is the perfect way to end a pretty lackluster week of movies, seeing that this was re-released in the theaters so that a new generation can experience it. And I kind of wish that this would come back into theaters at some point. I should watch it again, because I do have this on Criterion, because it's a film that just still is one of the great movies of all time. I mean, it's a masterpiece, great film, great performances, great script, great music. What else do I have to say about it? The Graduate, a true classic in every sense of the word.
On February 21st, 20th Century Fox and George Lucas present the next chapter in the Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition. The Empire Strikes Back.
Skywalker will join us or die.
I'm not afraid.
You will be.
An epic adventure with the Force all its own.
You're not actually going into an asteroid field.
It'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they?
Where destinies are foretold.
You will be tempted by the dark side.
Fears are awakened. And secrets are at long last revealed.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
Then, on March 7th, don't miss the final chapter of the Star Wars Trilogy, Return of the Jedi.
Let's go!
A time to take cover, for the final battle is about to begin. The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Newly enhanced visual effects, THX and digital sound, and a few new surprises.
Join me. It is your destiny.
The Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition. You haven't seen anything till you've seen everything.
Of course, this is the second part of the Star Wars Trilogy Special Editions, and comes only a few weeks after the first Star Wars was released, A New Hope, on January 31st, which, it was the #1 movie in the country until Empire Strikes Back came around. And, really there's not much more you can say about Empire Strikes Back that hasn't already been said already. In terms of the changes that are made in this movie are very slim to none. Like, I think George Lucas looked at The Empire Strikes Back and said, I don't have to make too many changes on this. I just got to update the visual effects a little bit. And for the most part, there's no real significant changes in this movie. And really, there's no reason why there shouldn't be, because why there should be changes, because it's a classic film on so many levels. It's one of the greatest sequels of all time. And really, all you need to do is touch up the special effects a little bit, and you really don't have to change a whole lot there. And I mean, The Empire Strikes Back is a classic film. It's a film that really, I really don't have anything more to add to it that hasn't already been said already. I mean, it ups the ante in terms of the story. It builds on what they've established in the first film. It expands the worlds that it has, creates new characters, creates new incredible stories to follow, creates one of the greatest twists in cinema history when you find out that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. If I spoil that from you, it's been over 40 years, man. You should have seen this movie by now. But yeah, this was a movie that really, when you really look at this movie, it kind of was the prototype for what sequels would have to do to surpass the original film at this point. They'd have to up the ante. They'd have to expand the world that these characters are living in. They have to change things. They have to do things to build the drama, build the intensity, build the purpose of this being a more serious adventure than the first time around. And this was the prototype film that actually showed what that potential could be. And coincidentally, this was not even directed by George Lucas. This was directed by Irwin Kershner, who had directed mostly little films like Spies, Up the Sandbox, The Return of a Man Called Horse. He had been working in movies for over 20 years at this point, but this was the first major blockbuster that he had his name attached to, and one of 3 films, big blockbusters that will come after including this movie, Never Say Never Again, which is the last Sean Connery James Bond movie, and RoboCop 2. So, yeah. Other than that, though, there's really not much more I can add to this, honestly. I mean, what more can I say that hasn't already been said already about The Empire Strikes Back? It's the best. It's easily the best movie in the Star Wars series. It's the best of the original trilogy. There really isn't a whole lot that needs to be said that hasn't already been said already. It's big. It ups the game on the story. It ups the game on the action. It ups the game on the tension. It ups the game on the new worlds they build on. it's a great movie, man. I mean, I really don't have anything else more to say about this one that hasn't already been said already. So that's The Empire Strikes Back. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the newer releases that came out this weekend, starting with the biggest of the three. That is John Singleton's Rosewood.
Like to plug people in and push a button up under them and make them feel something so that, you know, either they're nervous about something or they find joy in something. And same thing that someone finds joy in, someone else will find tragedy in. This is the story of a true town that was destroyed by a series of events.
They done killed everybody. These are real folks dying. Women and children ain't done nothing wrong to no soul.
And how one lie can lead to a kind of domino effect of other events.
You get together all the men you can find and you make sure they bring rifles.
I need you to be strong.
Now, colored folks just can't be running all the time. There comes a time when you got to stand up and defend your rights.
You'll make it. Trust me.
I like people to go to my movies and then they see a measure of pride within themselves as people. And even within the tragedy, there is inspiration.
Rosewood, rated R. Starts Friday, February 21st at a theater near you.
This is, of course, based on the story of the historic events of the 1923 Rosewood Massacre in Florida, where a white mob killed black people and destroyed their town, and this film introduces fictional characters as well as other creative departures from historical accuracies of the incident. One of the biggest changes is that Ving Rhames stars as an outsider who comes into Rosewood and inspires residents to self-defense, wielding his pistols in a fight. You also have Don Cheadle in there as Sylvester Carter, John Voight as John Wright. The three characters become entangled in an attempt to save people from racist whites attacking the blacks on Rosewood. And this is one of John Singleton's more forgotten movies. This is not from a critical perception, but the movie did receive rave reviews, but it did bomb pretty hard at the box office. I don't know what the following is on this movie in particular, but I thought it was alright for what it is. And while acknowledging that it's one of those movies that I really liked it, but I don't know if I'd ever find myself watching it again because of the subject matter. It does get a little bit too heavy on me. Not quite on the same levels as something like Schindler's List or 12 Years a Slave. Both great movies, but pretty hard to watch on repeat viewings. But it's kind of tough to get through the first time around. After the first time around, I should say. But the acting is very good. Ving Rhames gets a rare leading opportunity in a film, takes full advantage of it. He's really good in the film. You've also got a cast that includes John Voight, Don Cheadle, Michael Rooker. The writing overall is very solid. The visuals can look very impressive and staggering at times, and the emotional and dramatic moments are very well done, albeit they get a little bit rough to watch in several elements, as I said before. It's not one of John Singleton's best movies. I would still say something like Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice. Those are what was the last word he had? Higher Learning. Those are better films in my opinion. But this is a good movie. It's a film that deserves a lot more attention than I think it gets. If you like seeing the best of John Singleton's work, I'd say definitely check this one out. You won't be disappointed by it. Even though it is the lesser of the films he had made up to this point, it's still a really solid film that I do recommend checking out. So that is Rosewood. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Jack Nicholson in Blood and Wine.
Yeah, I trust her. A perfect plan.
Pas de problème, as they say in Bordeaux.
In an imperfect world.
Mugged by your own wife, eh? How ironic.
If you two didn't get ambitious, she'd be sitting on the front porch right now.
You are sentimental.
She's dead, you maniac!
We'll use a blowtorch on her.
Jack Nicholson, Stephen Dorff, and Michael Caine. Blood and Wine.
Well, I'll say this, it has probably Robert Blake's greatest performance ever. That's Robert Blake there playing the mystery man there. And really good performance on his part. I gotta give him credit for that. I mean, that's kind of terrifying, honestly. But you also have a cast that includes Bill Pullman, you see in the trailer. Patricia Arquette's also in here. Balthazar Getty, Robert Loggia. Richard Pryor has a role in here. Henry Rollins, Giovanni Ribisi, Marilyn Manson, and Twiggy Ramirez also have cameos in here. You're following a musician who begins receiving these mysterious VHS tapes of him and his wife in their home, and he's suddenly convicted of murder, after which he inexplicably disappears and is replaced by this young mechanic leading a different life. So it's a very weird-looking movie. It's not one of David Lynch's overall best films, but it does kind of set the tone for some of the great films he'd make later on down the road, because his next film would be Mulholland Drive, which is a very solid film, and Inland Empire, which is kind of an underrated film, but it's definitely one of those. It actually ended up being his last film, but it's just kind of a decent film. Of course, Mulholland Drive is a great film. I think Lost Highway and Inland Empire kind of is a perfect perfectly balanced. Like, you have two movies that are not that great, and then you have this really good movie in the middle with Mulholland Drive, and I think that kind of works in the film's favor. It's got a really unique feel to it. Like, the visual look of the film is very interesting and strange. The way the story is structured is nicely done. It's a really bizarre film, and for David Lynch, you kind of have to expect that with the type of films he does. I mean, it's not one of his best films overall, but it's one of the most intriguing films I've ever seen of his. I mean, it's a really intense film that tries to be experimental, tries to do things that are very different from the norm, and most times it works. Then there are times when it doesn't work quite as well, but I mean, it's got good performances all around, a great visual flair to it that just really makes it stand out on its own. I mean, it's a decent film. It's watchable it's to see what David Lynch, the crazy things he'll do next, because David Lynch, of course, has been known to do this type of stuff with many of his movies. Not all of them turn out great, but they're certainly fascinating to watch when you get to really look at them. So, yeah, that's probably the best way to end it on this one. David Lynch's Lost Highway.
We've met before, haven't we?
I don't think so.
At your house, don't you remember?
No, I don't.
As a matter of fact, I'm there right now. That's crazy, man. Call me. I told you I was here.
What'd you do then?
Ask me.
Well, I'll say this, it has probably Robert Blake's greatest performance ever. That's Robert Blake there playing the mystery man there. And really good performance on his part. I gotta give him credit for that. I mean, that's kind of terrifying, honestly. But you also have a cast that includes Bill Pullman, you see in the trailer. Patricia Arquette's also in here. Balthazar Getty, Robert Loggia. Richard Pryor has a role in here. Henry Rollins, Giovanni Ribisi, Marilyn Manson, and Twiggy Ramirez also have cameos in here. You're following a musician who begins receiving these mysterious VHS tapes of him and his wife in their home, and he's suddenly convicted of murder, after which he inexplicably disappears and is replaced by this young mechanic leading a different life. So it's a very weird-looking movie. It's not one of David Lynch's overall best films, but it does kind of set the tone for some of the great films he'd make later on down the road, because his next film would be Mulholland Drive, which is a very solid film, and Inland Empire, which is kind of an underrated film, but it's definitely one of those. It actually ended up being his last film, but it's just kind of a decent film. Of course, Mulholland Drive is a great film. I think Lost Highway and Inland Empire kind of is it's perfectly balanced. Like, you have two movies that are not that great, and then you have this really good movie in the middle with Mulholland Drive, and I think that kind of works in the film's favor. It's got a really unique feel to it. Like, the visual look of the film is very interesting and strange. The way the story is structured is nicely done. It's a really bizarre film, and for David Lynch, you kind of have to expect that with the type of films he does. I mean, it's not one of his best films overall, but it's one of the most intriguing films I've ever seen of his. I mean, it's a really intense film that tries to be experimental, tries to do things that are very different from the norm, and most times it works. Then there are times when it doesn't work quite as well, but I mean, it's got good performances all around, a great visual flair to it that just really makes it stand out on its own. I mean, it's a decent film. It's watchable it's to see what David Lynch, the crazy things he'll do next, because David Lynch, of course, has been known to do this type of stuff with many of his movies. Not all of them turn out great, but they're certainly fascinating to watch when you get to really look at them. So, yeah, that's probably the best way to end it on this one. David Lynch's Lost Highway.
When I introduce you, I'm gonna say, this is a friend of mine. That means you're connected, gang. Now, if I said instead, this is a friend of ours, that would mean you were made, gang. Capiche?
When Lefty brought Donnie into his world,
Who's this guy? This is Donnie, a friend of mine.
he took a risk on a kid he hardly knew.
I'm enough to school you, my friend.
School me in what?
Wise guy never carries his money in a wallet. See? Always in a roll. Bina on the outside.
He gave him his trust.
You gotta get rid of that mustache. Get yourself a pair of pants. Just like me.
He loved him like a son.
Nobody can touch you because I represent you. Keep your nose clean, follow the rules, be a good army, and maybe one day when they open the books, you become a wise guy. I die with you, darling.
So this is based on the true story of Joseph Pistone. He actually wrote a book called Donnie Brasco, My Undercover Life in the Mafia, which was published in 1988, and not too long after Barry Levinson had garnered an Academy Award for directing Rain Man, he actually bought the film rights and actually served as a consultant on the book. And within a couple of years, he was actually going to direct the film, but then he got Stephen Frears to direct the film initially, and it was going to come out in 1990, but because Goodfellas had come out that year, and it followed kind of and that became the premier mob film of the time period. I was about to say it followed the same story, but not really. But the plans for the film got pushed back, so Stephen Frears that year actually directed The Grifters, which we've talked about before. And he was also very adamant about casting Pacino as Lefty Ruggiero. And this film spent a number of years in development hell. Frears eventually moved on. They got Mike Newell to come in and direct this, and Pacino and Depp were actually ended up being cast in the starring roles, and Joseph Pistone actually served as a consultant to help them develop the characters in the film, and you can definitely see the effort being put in there. The film itself is a really damn good film. It's a solid piece of entertainment, largely benefited by the performances of Pacino and Johnny Depp. They play these roles very well here. You can see a little bit of hints of what The Departed would eventually become 10 years later, and a little bit of course, Internal Affairs, which, of course, was the film that The Departed was remade off of. And you can see a lot of things about the movie that work. The casting overall is great. Michael Madsen, Bruno Kirby, Anne Hesh, Zelko Jovanik, Zach Grenier, Tim Blake Nelson, Paul Giamatti, Gretchen Mol. A really good cast overall here. And the film itself is a very compelling and very enjoyable film all around. It's a film that has a lot of great visuals. The 1970s look incredible in here. It's an overall really good film, largely beneficial on the performances, the direction by Mike Newell. Not much more I can add to this one. It's a pretty enjoyable film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, especially if you want to see some of Johnny Depp's best acting in this, as well as Pacino's. Like I said, they're both very good in this film. Probably some of their strongest performances they've done, so that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. That's Donnie Brasco. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Booty Call.
Let me see your eyes now. No, I don't think so. Duck feet, big nose, pop eyes, receding hairline. Too thin, you can't win. Too thin, you can't win.
Man, you got to take that job back, baby. Job back.
Damn it, when I need helical sales, I will call helical sales.
See, that's why I don't like relationships, man. That's why I strictly deal with booty calls. 3 a.m., no questions asked.
Rashawn and Buns.
I'm here to serve you tonight.
Well, I got 3 things for you. Back up, Yoko Ono.
They have one thing on their mind.
So Rashawn's friend is cute, right? Oh, he's cute enough. Listerine, this is Buns. Did you see that tarantula hair fool?
But to get the women they want...
You know I do not mess with anyone that does not have class.
And you know, you looking pretty good.
They'll try impressing them.
Looky here.
What is that? It's a gold gas card.
And I got platinum privileges, too, because, you know, if you buy enough gas, they give you coffee mugs and stuff.
They'll try romancing them.
Oh, girl, your feet are kind of strong, but the softest feet in the world. Hell, man. Get them big jungle rat alligator feet off mine, man.
And if that doesn't work...
Don't you think we need some protection?
These women are running us. We not running them. Hey, you want some dinner, Dan? I got your dinner, Dan.
They'll try anything.
Glad we're up at 2 in the morning? So like you probably eat more than a sandwich, bro.
Would you look at here? Perhaps they're waiting to...
Columbia Pictures presents...
You got to lick it before you kick it.
Jamie Foxx.
Dr. Moore needs some help in obstetrics. She's having a baby. Oh, well, it ain't mine.
Tommy Davidson.
This girl's got a lot of class, all right? So act like you got a mama, like you wouldn't mix up in some test tube.
Vivica Fox.
No glove, no love.
I got a glove right here.
And Tamala Jones.
Who knows? You and Buns just might hit it off.
Ciao, guy.
Go high, John.
No le mo go high.
No,
Booty Call.
I'm very attracted to you. These beautiful eyes, those cheekbones, that smile, and I love the little mustache. It's working.
So yeah, judging by that trailer, that movie did not look like it was going to sell itself very well, just from that trailer alone. I mean, that looked pretty bad. I mean, some of that comedy in there was just not that funny. Some of it worked, but most of it looked like one of those comedy trailers from kind of like today's modern comedy trailers, where they think they have something really funny to show you, and there's just nothing there. If I had seen that trailer first back when this movie came out, I probably would never want to see this movie. I saw that trailer long after I saw that movie. And the movie itself is just, it's alright. Like, really, I went into it expecting a lot more because I saw it got some good reviews. Most notably, Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. And usually when they do that, it's usually something I'll kind of enjoy. They compared the humor to something like Beavis and Butthead, which I guess you could say that, but not really, honestly. There's only a couple moments there where it kind of feels like that, but even Beavis and Butthead would know to be a little bit smarter than that. But as far as the movie itself goes, it's not a bad movie. It is a fun film. You do like the chemistry between Jamie Foxx and Tommy Davidson, as well as the chemistry they have with Vivica A. Fox and Tamala Jones, but most of the time the comedy in here isn't all that great. Sometimes you'll get a good laugh here and there, but it's not really all over the place. It's very few and far between. And coincidentally, this was a film that actually was written around the same time another movie with a similar premise to it, a film called Trojan War, which featured an all-white cast. I think it had Jennifer Love Hewitt, Will Friedle from Boy Meets World, and Marley Shelton in it. And it was directed by George Huang, who did Swimming with Sharks. And the funny thing is, they had no idea that movie was even being made when they wrote this movie. And you know, you chalk that up to something similar to like what Dante's Peak and Volcano was. I don't think anybody really knew that both of those films were coming together at the same time, or maybe they did. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, the original script was actually heavily rewritten by the director Jeff Pollack as well as Tommy Davidson. And yeah, as far as the movie itself goes, I mean, it was fine for what it was. I also found it pretty interesting that Charles Dutton actually criticized young African Americans who went to see the film rather than the historical drama Rosewood, which, in a way, he kind of has a point to it. But at the same time, I mean, you're asking young African Americans to choose between a historical drama by John Singleton or a sex comedy with Tommy Davidson and Jamie Foxx in it. I mean, most kids. Plus, they probably figure most of those kids will probably see that movie in school one day when they have to talk about the events there. So, in a way, I definitely see where he's coming from. But at the same time, I think he kind of was getting a little. He was kind of a little bit. Bottom line, he's entitled to his own opinion, and honestly, I can't really blame him for it because Rosewood is the far superior movie. But I could see why the young kids would go see Booty Call over Rosewood, honestly. But as I said before, as far as the movie itself goes, it's fine for what it is. There are some funny moments in there. I like the acting from the 4 leads. There's just not a whole lot there that really makes it a must-see movie. I saw it, was expecting a lot more from it, but I was kind of a little let down by it, honestly. But at the same time, I didn't really hate it. I just thought it was alright for what it was. So, that's just my personal take on it. So that's Booty Call. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Smilla's Sense of Snow.
Solve this mystery. One woman must use all her senses.
He was murdered.
The critics call Smilla smart and spellbinding, a poetic and lyrical thriller. Julia Ormond, Gabriel Byrne, Smilla's Sense of Snow. Rated R. Now playing.
So this is based off of a novel called Miss Smilla's Feeling for Snow, which was actually the title of the UK release of the film. You've got a story about this transplanted Greenlander, Smilla Jasperson, played by Julia Ormond, who investigates the mysterious death of the small Inuit boy who lives in this housing complex in Copenhagen. She suspects wrongdoing. She uncovers a trail of clues leading towards a secretive corporation that has made several mysterious expeditions to Greenland. That's really all I know about this one. I've never seen this film before. Good cast overall here. Julia Ormond, Gabriel Byrne, Richard Harris, Robert Loggia, Vanessa Redgrave. But like I said before, nothing really I know about this movie. What the hell was even that? There's not a whole much. What I meant to say is there's not a whole lot there I can really say about this movie, is what I was trying to say. I don't know what the heck was that, but yeah, there's not a whole much there I know about this because I've never seen this film. I don't really know if it's any good or not. I've talked about how I usually like these type of movies that takes place in the winter and the snowfall and all that, so I don't know, maybe there might be something there I might kind of enjoy, but other than that, though, it's just that's pretty much all I got to say about that one, since I haven't seen it. So, in fact, most of these other movies here I haven't really seen, so we can be real quick on these ones here. So, on to the next one, and that is Hard 8.
$50. What would you do with it?
I'd eat.
How long can you eat? How long can you live on $50?
I don't know.
I would bet not very long.
This film is actually based off of a short film called Cigarettes and Coffee, which I thought at first was kind of also the inspiration for Coffee and Cigarettes, the movie that eventually came out about 7 years later. But that turns out to be, that's all just Jim Jarmusch's own series of films. I don't know if they're really connected or anything like that, but I thought that was pretty interesting. But basically, you follow the story of this senior gambler played by Philip Baker Hall, and John C. Reilly is this homeless man. You see Gwyneth Paltrow in here as well as Samuel Jackson. It's the directorial debut for Paul Thomas Anderson, who'd later go on to make much better films. Well, I mean, he'd go on to make much better films in Boogie Nights and Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, Inherent Vice, The Master of Licorice Pizza. I don't really know for sure if this is a good film or not. I've never really even heard about it until now. So, I mean, it could be pretty good. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson does make a lot of really good movies, so I wouldn't put it past him to make something pretty good out of this. So, again, that's really all I know about this one. So, on to the next movie, and that is Kama Sutra: A Tale of Love. Another movie I've never seen, so I don't really know too much about it. It's directed by Mira Nair. We've talked about a couple of her movies on this show, including The Perez Family and the really good Mississippi Masala with Denzel Washington. This one has Naveen Andrews, Naveen Andrews, and Indira Varma, who was also on Game of Thrones. Naveen Andrews, of course, is from Lost. But this is based off of a portion of the film is based off of Utran, Hand-Me-Downs, which is a short story in Urdu by the Indian writer Wajida Tabassum, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But like I said, I really don't know anything about this film. I've never seen it before. But the reviews for it are kind of mixed. They're not as good as some of Mira Nair's other works. So I'm assuming this one's not as good as some of her other films. So I'm just going to take it from that because, like I said, I haven't seen the film, so I don't really know if it's that good or not. And I'm judging by the reviews I see for it, probably is not that good. So all I know about that one. So let's move on to the last film, which is Follow Me Home.
It's people like you who put a stain on the moral fabric of this once great land.
I can taste the salt of my tears as I swallow the truth.
Never seen this one before, but it does have an interesting history behind it. You follow spiritual and intercultural race relationships through the lives of 4 artists, 1 African American, 1 Native American, and 2 Latin American cousins, one of them played by Benjamin Bratt, I believe, who embark on this cross-country road trip to paint a mural at the White House, and along the way they meet this mysterious African American woman played by Alfre Woodard. Good Lord, I almost said Viola Davis. But this woman's played by Alfre Woodard, who bears a deep secret, and the interesting thing about this, it's never been picked up by a major distribution company. It's been shown on request at universities and community centers, and then they have a Native American activist named Lakota Hardin actually come in and do a discussion afterward. But the film did apparently get a re-release in 2020, right around the time of the George Floyd protest, the Black Lives Matter protest, and you even see that trailer is from said re-release. So a very interesting situation there. So I don't really know too much about this movie as a whole, but knowing that, I mean, this movie has some kind of a legacy to it that maybe I'm not aware. But then again, I don't really know if I've never seen this movie, so I don't really know if it's any good or not. But kind of an interesting story to go off of that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. Follow Me Home.